to understand the implications of Yahweh's presentation to Choter. It's central to the survival of Yisrael and Yehudah, even if I may be so bold, of the planet itself. It is important that we contemplate the mission by coming to appreciate all that God had to say about this unique individual. There is no one throughout the entirety of Yahweh's Torah and prophets equivalent to, as unique as, his children. You'll find the presentation in the midst of the great prophet, Yashayah, preserved for us in the great Isaiah scroll, for all to see, written sometime around 770 BCE. Yashayah, whose name means Yahweh delivers, began his prophetic revelation by excoriating religion. He denounced in every possible way, every aspect of his people's propensity to be religious as opposed to engage in a relationship with Yahweh. This is an excoriation of Judaism. It leaves really nothing of it to have any except embrace or even tolerate. And so after denouncing religion on behalf of Yahweh, in fact, it's Yahweh's voice that Yashayah is conveying, so you can't get mad at him should you be religious. It is Yahweh who damns religion. The story turns in the 10th chapter of Yashayah to a very unique individual. And in the 11th chapter, he is introduced as the Choter. And I'd like to turn to it now because without this declaration, it is exceedingly difficult for God's people to return home, for them to know Yahweh's name again, for them to come to the place where they can accept their Messiah, for them to have an appreciation of what the covenant actually represents, what God is offering and expects in return. For Yisrael and Yehudah to correctly participate in the Moed Mikra. They don't know the timing. They don't know even who they are or how to find themselves or why they have been so horribly estranged from Yahweh for so many years without an understanding of precisely who this individual is that Yahweh has enabled, inspired, emboldened, called him back home. You see, the prophet Yashayah not only wrote the textbook on how to be a Choter, introducing the whole concept of the Choter to us, he also wrote the text on how the world should respond to this individual. So now, I want to share with you an insight regarding the Choter that we have not previously considered. You see, Yahweh's chosen implement for Saraf Parora, lopping off the non-fruit-bearing branches with divided loyalties, has been tasked with the responsibility of removing those who are contemptible to God. We've always viewed the Choter as a source of new life, and he is that. But he's also a pruning shear. He's also a rod of divine judgment. The Choter is the instrument Yahweh intends to Masareth, wield with tremendous force against the opinionated and the thoughtless, perhaps shaking some sense into his wayward people after millennia of being estranged. This makes the Choter a tool being deployed to fell the political and the religious elite, even the Shafal. He is to humiliate those he brings back down to earth. Therefore, in this context, it's hard to miss the stated implication that the Choter is ha-barzel. He's a hardened iron rod, even a sharp axe that has been appointed to Nephal, to cut down and cast down the giants of the land, those who Laban have whitewashed over God's testimony. I'd like to begin reading to you from the 10th chapter of Yeshayah, so we are properly introduced to the Choter. God begins by saying, "Behold, Hannah, pay attention. Yahweh, of the vast array of spiritual implements, the upright pillar of the tabernacle, will lop off the ambivalent and non-fruit-bearing shoots with divided loyalties. He is going to cut off and separate the disloyal sprigs, the opinionated, the thoughtless, the double-minded branches, removing from the source all of those who are half-hearted and are seen as despicable and contemptible, doing so with tremendous force. And then the ones who have risen to the highest levels, the Rum Ha, Koma, those who have been lifted up and exalted, those who are in the highest positions and who have rebelled in open defiance, will be cut down. They will be chopped down and hewn off, felled and pruned away, so that those in a position of power, as well as those who have been exalted or hold an exalted view of themselves, the haughty and the proud, the high and the mighty, the self-glorifying and improperly arrogant, will be brought down and they will be humiliated. They will be shamed and humbled, abased, and then taken to the lowest possible place. Yeshayah, Isaiah 10:33. God's not finished. So he will strike down the intertwined and twisted, the entangled and interwoven thicket and underbrush that's choking out the productive crop of the cultivated groves with the hardened iron rod and sharp cutting implement. Ba-ha-barzel, with this divisive tool, such as an axe. And then Lebanon, the white one, appearing as if enlightened, will fall, and he will be cast down by way of the mighty and the majestic one. Yeshayah 10:34. Therefore, considering the context of this narrative, we find that, as we have already announced that this is the preamble to the Choter, that this individual is being deployed to forcefully lop off the unproductive branches with divided loyalties, while striking some sense into the opinionated and thoughtless. That makes this man a tool deployed to fell and humiliate the political and the religious establishment. The Choter is a hardened rod, and he is a sharp axe, wielded by God to cut down the impediments to growth, such that the tree of lives can be productive again. A Choter, a rod to purge and punish wrongdoing, as well as a shoot from a branch and a sucker from a stump or root that is productive and fruitful. An individual used as a stick to fell the guilty, an implement to chastise the misleading, a stem and secondary branch, an instrument promoting growth while serving as a living entity delivering progeny. This is shaped by both che, restoring life, and by purging, chata, guilt. The Choter is masculine singular. There is but one of him. He will be actively extended for a period of time. He will be brought forth to serve. By means of the stalk, the giza, the original stump and root from which new growth emerges, the trunk which has been cut down and yet is capable of supporting new shoots of Yishai to stand out and be noticed, to draw attention to the substance of existence. It's from Yesh, to exist and become substantial, to stand up and be noticed as an observant branch, a netzer, a secondary stem or shoot which extends from the primary limb, from natsar, to be observant, to watch over, to preserve, to focus on, as well as to protect, by means of his roots and that which keeps him anchored, steadfast, even nourished. Sheresh Hu, his base and foundation, that which keeps him firmly established, such that he will continually bear an abundance of fruit. He will be productive while encouraging productivity in others. Para. So that he will be genuinely fruitful while causing and enabling prosperity on behalf of successive generations. Yashaya. Isaiah 11:1. So now that we have considered God's introduction to the Choter in context, let's share some additional insights, just highlight what God had to say. Yahweh's Choter is indeed a rod that God's going to wield to purge and punish the wrongdoing. He is going to use it against the religious and political establishment. Use him, I should say. He is being deployed as this implement, as a tool for God to speak through, to fell those who have been opposed to him and have misled so many for so long, particularly at this time as the world plunges headlong into world war and as the world rages in its roaring appetite to perpetrate genocide against Jews and destroy Israel. Now, more than ever, a rod is necessary to purge this wrongdoing. But he is also this shoot, a branch from the main tree, a sucker from the stump, which enables the roots to provide new life. Yes, he is equal parts condemning and commending. He's just like the prophet who was introducing him, with Yeshayah providing better part of 10 chapters condemning his people's propensity to be religious while commending the Choter's witness to the overall plan of Yahweh. This makes the Choter so much more than anything we have previously considered. It certainly explains why Yahweh asked me to begin our mission together by exposing and condemning Islam. You now see those 5 books over my left shoulder. I guess you can't see them now because we have a new backdrop. I'm assuming that my lovely wife has put the crag that was split to bring forth water, and that she knows that my mission on behalf of Yahweh is defined as being this sharp, rocky crag. It's the same as my given name, Crag. And so this Choter was asked by Yahweh to do something no one heretofore in human history has ever done. To write a series of books based entirely on the Islamic scriptures, to reorder the Quran chronologically and to set it into the context of Muhammad's life using the Hadith so that the religion could be understood for the first time and that we would know that it was from the devil himself, that it is demonic, deadly, and that Islam must be purged, it must be quarantined for humanity to survive. And after having asked me to expose and condemn Islam, something no one has ever done to this extent and survived, Yahweh asked me to do the same to Christianity, doing something no one had ever done before, taking the text of the Christian New Testament and comparing what the likes of Peter and Paul, Mark and Luke had to say with what God actually said, and how they manipulated and twisted, misappropriated, and misquoted the very prophetic testimony of Yahweh to give the false illusion that they were speaking for him. No one's ever done that before. No one had ever done the same thing to Islam previously. And certainly no one had ever done both before. And then I'm the first to demonstrate that the books written in Babel, for the most part, certainly all of Ezekiel and the first half of Daniel, are demonic. They aren't prophets. And in so doing, I was able to expose and condemn rabbinic Judaism, adding another element to this rod and this axe, chopping down and doing away with the great impediments to the truth, to the way, to knowing Yahweh. But that wasn't the end of it. Because after we had done heretofore that which had never been achieved previously, in exposing and condemning Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, we then did what Yeshayah has done. But no one since Yeshayah has done this since that time, which is, as the Choter, to perceive and then share the entire plan of Yahweh. From beginning to end, from life in the garden to our return to Eden, and every memorable step along the way, for the first time explaining the purpose of each, delineating the instructive terms of the covenant and all of its benefits. sharing how the Moed, the Mikre, these invitations to meet with God, provide the means to those benefits, telling you when they were fulfilled, who fulfilled them, how you should capitalize on what is being offered to you, as well as when the final four will be fulfilled by whom. And again, how you can capitalize upon them. All the while reintroducing Yahweh's name to his people and reacquainting Yisrael and Yehudim with the Son of God, the very Messiah, the returning King, Dod, the man who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. And so the Choter is all of these things, unique among all who have come before and all who will follow. Therefore, a Choter, a rod to purge and punish wrongdoing, as well as a shoot and branch, a sucker from the stump or root to bring forth new life, will be actively and extended for this period of time by means of the stock of Yishai, to stand out, to be noticed as the observant branch, this stem which extends from the primary limb, was observant, focused, protective. By means of his roots, that's which keeps him anchored, steadfast, and nourished, such that he will continually bear an abundance of fruit, being productive while encouraging productivity in others. He will be para. Now, for those who have been with me, well, over the past year, for those who have listened to the Yahweh blog prior to this special edition of it on the Choter, you know the significance of para. It was this very prophet and what will be his 17th chapter that identified the final Zeroah, the one who cultivates the seeds for a productive and fruitful harvest, telling us that he will be para. He is the fruitful and productive one, particularly of Shabuah, and again of Teruah. And it is on Teruah that we know, based upon what Yashayah says in the 17th chapter, as we're reading now in the 11th, that it is the para, which is translated in Bamidbar, Numbers 19, as heifer, that will be sacrificed on Teruah to prepare the remaining mortal remnant of Yisrael for the return of Father and Son, Yahweh and Dod. You see, the Choter is the Adamah para. He's the bloody red man of the earth who is fruitful and productive. He is the red heifer of Numbers 19, purifying, preparing. The adulterous woman of Numbers 5, so that she can be symbolically betrothed to the Messiah and King upon his return. The Choter and the Adamah para are one. And the purpose is to be fruitful. And you might say, wait a minute, you just said he is both this axe and this rod as a means of punishment, even, of cutting down and pruning, lopping away that which is inappropriate, wrong. It's true. Because you see, the vine can't be healthy again until it's pruned. Even the olive cannot bear her fruit until the dead wood is cut away. And so the Choter is responsible for both. With this introduction, now from the conclusion of the 10th chapter of Yashaya, we properly see the Choter as both a weapon and an olive branch, a conduit for new life now that the cudgel has been used to lop off the dead and decaying wood. He is rod and axe that Yahweh will deploy to cut down and indeed punish the religious and political adversaries of his people. At the same time, he is a shoot from the tree of knowledge. He is the sucker that will bring the fallen stump of Yisrael back to life. And make no mistake, the Choter, while this is a very big job, is presented as masculine singular. There would be no institution. There would be no gang. There would be no political party. He is a lone individual, although he is not alone, because he's imbued with the seven spirits of Yahweh. So while there is only one of him, and he is being deployed by the one and only God for this one period of time, he is the most empowered person in the history of humanity. The verb yatsa reveals that the Choter is being extended and actively deployed to draw Yehudim out of the religious and political corruptions of this world and unto God. He is conducting a second and final yatsa, exodus, from Mitzrayim, the crucibles of human oppression, just as Moshe did in the initial yatsa. Israel has fallen. God's people have ceased being productive members of the covenant family. To resolve this problem before this results in fruitless harvests, Yahweh is using the Choter to give the fallen stump one last chance at new life. And through these bold prophecies, the Choter is sure to Yeshe, stand out. He will be noticed by those Yahweh wants to notice. God has decided to Yeshe, draw attention to his and therefore his existence. Yada, as I was known for the first 10 years, I did this to be anonymous. Wanted to remain that way. But Yahweh clearly has other plans. In addition to serving as a pruning axe to rid the world of invasive species and rotten branches, and more than a rod of divine punishment, the Choter is presented as a Netzir. He's an observant branch. This means that he is a secondary stem extending from the primary limb to absorb as much light and as from the sun really as possible. Now, this ties him to the most remarkable person in God's story, the greater luminary, the man who is represented by the sun, the very Son of God, Dod. You see, the Choter is a secondary stem off the main branch. The main branch, the branch, is Dod David. That's why the Choter also serves as Dode's herald. God, when he chooses someone to work with him, has that individual wear many hats. And so if you're going to be an individual that God is going to choose in this regard, you better be able to multitask. That better be one of the attributes on your resume. Look at Dode, lyricist, songwriter, great poet, prophet, warrior, defender of his people, anointed Messiah, Son of God, King of Israel. The man could multitask. And it is a requirement in this role. And so the Choter's role is to do as one would expect of the lesser luminary, the moon, to the sun. He is to reflect the sun's light. Further, since Netzir is from Natsar, to observe, watch over, and preserve, even to protect, to closely look after, to focus on, it is similar to the title Nakar, which means observant foreigner. It was Dode's son, Solomon, who introduced us to the Nakri, which is my observant foreigner, telling his people that in the end, he would be the one to whom they should listen. Yahweh's Choter is deeply sheresh. He's rooted, such that he is properly anchored, nourished, fruitful, and steadfastly productive. Israel can be assured that he will never be pushed aside or blown away. He is firmly established for the duration of the mission. With this note, Yashaya cleverly and subtly concluded his description and this assessment by calling the Choter para, productive and fruitful. The term that is wont to be translated heifer when describing the Adamah para. Well, this is the same term that he will use of this same man, calling the third and final Zeroah, following in the footsteps of Moshe and Dode, the one cultivating the seeds for the ultimate harvest, para, 6 chapters hence, when depicting his role during the Shavua Katsir and the Teruah Lakat, doing so in what we now call Isaiah 17. There it is used to convey that the Adamah para, this bloody red man of the earth, will be especially productive on Yom Teruah, the day, of course, of the herald. And by doing so, the great prophet was introducing us to the man from Edom in red attire, who saves many in the end, making it obvious that the man who wrote the textbook on proper chotering knew that he would equate Adamah para with the Zeroah in the 63rd chapter, which is something we will review in the second iteration of this particular program, maybe the third. We'll see how far we get in this one, on the textbook of proper chotering. As a result of these references, we can clearly see that, Yahweh's Choter is a rod to purge and will be used to punish the wrongdoing that men who have been religious and political and have misled and abused God's people will have deserved. But he is also the shoot from a branch and sucker from the stump and root, which will continually bear an abundance of fruit and be productive while encouraging productivity in others. Well, that is a whole lot to ask of one man, which is likely why he is imbued with the Ruach spirit of Yahweh. I can tell you most assuredly, if Yahweh had begun in our introduction now 23 and a half years ago on Teruah, the day of the herald, and it said, oh, by the way, I have one more thing to tell you. Maybe a couple of more things to tell you. After you do what no one has ever survived before, and you expose and condemn Islam, which is our first project together, and then I want you to do the same for Christianity, and then the same against Judaism. Then there's this project that we will embark upon where you're going to write 35 books, and some 25 of them are going to be amplified translations from the oldest text of my prophetic testimony. And then you're going to derive insights from them, and you're going to share those with the world. You're going to begin by doing it freely online, and go to yadayah.com. You'll see the results of that. And then you're going to talk directly to my people and share the sum total of what you've learned in those books. But that's not the whole story. You're going to determine insights and form conclusions that heretofore have never been considered by man. Not one of them, not 5, not 10, not 100, not even 1,000, but thousands of them. And you're going to offer them freely to my people to help awaken them and to bring them home. And then after doing this, you're going to come to a realization that, well, is quite simply the greatest discovery in human history. Something that, of course, I have known, as has my son, but no man before you. My son, Dode, served as the Passover lamb. There was no Jesus. It was my son, Dode, the real Messiah, who opened the door to life, perfected the souls of every covenant member by taking their guilt into Sheol, and then becoming the living embodiment of Bakurim by being my Bakor, firstborn son. You're not only going to discover that, you're going to understand how Dode came to that conclusion that he should serve in this way. You will come to understand why he volunteered, why he thought it was in his interest, even why I agreed with him, and then how we went about making this happen for my people's benefits. The greatest discovery in human history that you're going to introduce. Oh, and there's one other little part that I've forgotten to tell you. Maybe it's a little premature for me to share it with you now, but we're going to be completely open and honest. And of course, what I'm sharing with you is what I would subsequently learn he didn't share on this day. Had he shared it on this day, I might have gone kicking and running away. But that other little tidbit, oh yes. You're going to be one of the 2 men who was sacrificed to save my people. You're not only responsible for the Shabuah and Teruah harvests, but on Teruah, it will be your mortal existence as the Adamah Parah that will be reenacted as Elia performed to excoriate the religious and political establishment of Israel 2,888 years prior to this event. such that after Satan bludgeons you to death, fortunately, it's just your bashar. Your body is the herald on the day of the herald that will succumb. And I will ignite the flames, and I will release the waters, and collectively, we will cleanse and prepare Yisrael for my return. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Well, obviously, I did not know that in our first meeting, nor did Dode know that he would serve as the Passover lamb when Yahweh first introduced us to him. But as we will find out, the purpose of what follows is so that Yahweh's Choter would be the first to know the entire story from beginning to end, from the garden and back to Eden, so that he could share it with you. So while that is certainly a lot to ask of one man, and fortunately God did not ask it all in our first meeting, it is why he imbued his chosen implement with the Ruach of Yahweh. This is because the Ruach, the divine power, the influence, the very energy, the discernible feminine and essence and the manifestation of understanding, the support and the protection, the very enlightenment of Yahweh will settle and remain upon him. Nuach al-Hu. She was placed upon him. She energizes him. She restores him. She is an alliance with him, dwelling and residing with him, while she enriches an association and assures the most favorable outcome for him, enabling him to be composed and to prevail no matter the challenge. It was written in the call, perfect, to be interpreted literally. Third person, feminine, singular, and third person, masculine, singular. The Spirit is one. The Choter is one, just as Yahweh is one. The Spirit, the Ruach, providing the capacity to comprehend and then teach, offering the mental aptitude and wisdom to learn and instruct, to grasp the essence of the issue and communicate reasoned conclusions and perceptions intelligently, wisely providing the technical expertise to be discerning and to educate. Chakma is intelligence. Well, enabling understanding by making the proper connections to reveal insights. Bena, facilitating the propensity to ponder and process information by being perceptive and discerning, discriminating and judgmental, making intelligent associations which lead to conceptual comprehension, revealing how to respond after thoughtful consideration. The very personification of intelligence from beyond, making connections between and among things so as to find patterns and relationships, the common denominators, which are the essence of reason. The Spirit, the Ruach, of advice and counsel regarding the overall purpose of the entire plan. esta, of that which is essential and pertinent, the directions regarding how to properly reply, providing prudent consultation on the very purpose of God's proposal, delivering effective mentoring on how to deliberate the most relevant of all decisions, and of being emboldened and inspiring, powerful, strong, awe-inspiring, and victorious, exceedingly competent and courageous. Wa Gebora, on how to be poised and assured as a leader who is empowering, able to accomplish the mission and perform until it's complete, providing the aptitude and capability to confirm what is true, offering the mental discipline to be unwavering, championing the cause with integrity and with character, always fighting to defend what is right, doing so fearlessly, with valor, even from God's perspective, heroism. The spirit of knowing and of knowledge, of being discerning by learning. This is Dayath, of recognizing where to look for answers, and of acquiring the information, of being aware of the evidence and being able to differentiate fact from fiction, right from wrong, so as to recognize and acknowledge the truth. It's from the verb yada, my name, which is to learn and to know, to recognize and to acknowledge, to consider and comprehend, to become acquainted and personally familiar. All so as to respect and revere, to appreciate the awesome nature, the outstanding character, the superlative ability, the astonishing greatness, and to be inspired by Yahweh. Yashaya, Isaiah 11:2. The Choter is the first and only person in human history to receive the seven spirits of Yahweh. And from this realization and the accompanying infusions of intellectual prowess, understanding, counsel, courage, competency, knowledge, and perceptiveness, particularly in association with Yahweh, which is really all that matters to the Choter, that and his people. This is a powerful package, and it is to be deployed in an overwhelmingly important time and purpose, a time and purpose like none other. Should we put it all together? Yahweh's implement is remarkable. Let me share all of it with you. The Choter is a rod to purge and punish wrongdoing, as well as a shoot from the branch and a sucker from the stump to be productive and fruitful. He will be actively extended for a period of time from the fallen tree and rootstock to stand out and to be noticed, an observant branch, by means of him being deeply rooted, such that he is anchored, steadfast, and nourished, and able to continually bear an abundance of fruit, being productive while encouraging productivity in others. This is because the spirit and divine power of knowledge and influence of Yahweh has settled upon and remains on him, align with him and energizing him, enriching and enabling him, the Spirit providing the capacity to comprehend and then teach, of wisdom and of mental aptitude to learn and instruct, to grasp the essence of the issues and communicate reasoned conclusions and perceptions logically and judiciously, providing the technical expertise to be discerning and educate, while enabling understanding by making the proper connections to reveal insights, facilitating the propensity to ponder and process information, by being perceptive and discriminating, even judgmental, making intelligent associations which lead to a conceptual comprehension, revealing how to respond after thoughtful consideration, becoming the very personification of intelligence. The spirit of advice and of counsel regarding the overall purpose of the entire plan, cognizant of the pertinent directions regarding how to properly respond, providing prudent consultation on the purpose of God's proposal, delivering effective mentoring on how to deliberate this most relevant of decisions, and of being emboldened and inspiring, powerful and strong, awesomely victorious, exceedingly competent and courageous, being a poised and assured leader who is empowering, able to accomplish the mission and perform until it is complete, providing the aptitude and capability to confirm what is true, offering the mental discipline to be unwavering, championing the cause with integrity and character, always fighting to defend what is right, doing so fearlessly with valor. The spirit of knowing and of knowledge, of being perceptive and discerning by learning, of recognizing where to look for the answers and to acquire information, of being aware of the evidence and being able to differentiate what is relevant and accurate, being discerning, discriminating between fact and fiction, right and wrong, so as to recognize and acknowledge the truth as yada, so as to respect and revere, appreciate, and be inspired by Yahweh. One does not need to speculate to determine that Yahweh prepared this man, his Choter, for one of the most important missions in all of human history, or that God was assuring that he would be successful, helping him to have the intellect to be judicious, insightful, and cogent, intelligent and effective, bold and steadfast, yes, even poised and assured, disciplined and unwavering. The Choter has learned the answer, and he is sharing it. And beyond all else, he is conveying his love and his respect for Yahweh. As a result of this, God affirms that his Choter will respond when called, and his profound respect of Yahweh's name will be paramount, motivating him to reintroduce Yehudim to God, whose name they have shamefully erased. Additionally, by accepting the offer and responding appropriately, he will be perceptive. Riach, his acceptance and his perceptiveness, his nose for the truth, his willingness to respond and supply answers after his virtual meetings will be pleasing, bringing him very, very close with regard to developing a profound admiration and respect for Yahweh, having the ability to appreciate the awesome wonderment and astonishing greatness of Yahweh. Therefore, It will not be by an appearance or a vision seen with his eyes that will decide. Also, it will not be by hearsay heard with his ears that he will make judgments or prove his arguments. Yeshayahu 11:3. I'm going to share some thoughts on this statement, and then we'll conclude part 1 of Choter. You see, prophets are either afforded visions of future events, or they listen to and report the words God shares with them, such that they are always accurate and reliable, proven. False prophets, however, are the provocateurs of hearsay. The Choter, by contrast, he will be distinguished by an entirely different approach. With the benefit of the Ruach Spirit of Yahweh settling upon him, he will use spiritual chakma, intelligence, giving him the capacity to comprehend what others have heretofore missed. Yahweh will expressly enable him to make the appropriate connections to understand his testimony as never before. Therefore, share a plethora of profound and previously unheralded insights. And because his conclusions will all be deduced from the Torah and prophets, his witness is readily validated and easily proven. For the first time in thousands of years, as a direct result of the Ruach of Etzah, Yahweh will reveal his entire plan, from the garden to our return to Eden, along with all of the pertinent directions for us to navigate along the way. In the nick of time, this will make it possible for the prudent to deliberate and decide how to respond to all Yahweh is offering. And since this message will be contrary to what his people have been led to believe, the Choter, he is going to be Geborah, empowered, making him exceptionally capable and courageous. Perhaps second only in this regard to Dod as Gabriel, God's most courageous and competent man. And as a result, it would not be wise to quarrel with him. Obviously, this is an unprecedented situation and individual. So there's a lot more that God said about the Choter. Yahweh wants his people to recognize him and then benefit from what his 7 spirits communicate through him. And so when we return to our second episode on the Choter, we will listen to what more God has to say about what he considers to be among the most remarkable of men at the most important time in all of human history. I am Yada, Craig Wynn, and this has been a presentation of the Choter on the Yahweh blog.